All right, what's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another panel show. We are missing one person who's going to come in shortly, I believe, but we do have Sim with us. We do have Sean from Spurs Talk Show. Sean, long time no see, especially on the channel. Well, I see you in real life in the game sometimes, but back on the channel, Sean. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. That was fluent in the way you said. Came out very naturally. I'm good, mate. Hey, it's been a while. How you feeling, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm still testing positive, but I feel fine. I feel completely fine.
Really? Okay. Fair enough. Well, I hope you're back in properly, mate. I hope you get the all clear very soon and stuff. Get back in the studio and whatever else you got to do.
Mate. Thank you. Let's bring in our other guest, which is Henry Wright. Henry, how you doing, buddy?
I'm not too bad, mate. I'm not too bad. All good? Everything all good?
Yeah.
How's COVID treating you?
COVID, at the moment, it's treating me well. I mean, I've felt completely fine since yesterday, but I'm still positive, so it's really annoying.
Yeah, I bet you're chomping at the bit to get out of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone out here and there, but just gutting to miss that Liverpool game. That was like, I was just watching it being like, I'm really delighted that we won, but I just had massive FOMO of not being there. Massive.
Yeah, honestly, the South stand in the last minute was, I think I nearly got lifted off of my feet into the next row. Like, people were going absolutely mental.
Do you know what really annoys me about that whole thing? Though, all the Liverpool fans and the Arsenal fans and the salty top six fans who were looking at the scenes of us celebrating are all going, you're celebrating barely scraping past a 9-man team and you needed the goal, you needed VAR to cheat. None of us knew that at the time. All we knew was that we'd won the game fair and square and that there was no controversy, because as far as we were aware, there was a goal that they scored and it took VAR 10 seconds to confirm that it was offside. So we thought, the South stand at least, because you couldn't see the angle, right? So all of us just thought there was nothing going on. It was only later on we found out. I still would have celebrated it just as, I probably would have celebrated it more aggressively.
And just to touch on that point as well, like the red card, they showed it in the stadium. There was like a massive gasp from like literally the whole crowd because of how bad the challenge looked. And so they didn't look like there was any sort of controversy surrounding that red card either. The second yellow card obviously looked like a stone wall as well. So after that game, there was no controversy from the crowd, like knowing what was going on. So, but of course, it was a 96th minute winner, last kick of the game. What did they expect to happen? I should like politely clap on this out. Like, obviously, any fans in any of that situation.
No, when the goal goes in, Sim, you got to boo because of VAR and the officiating. Celebrate no wins.
100%.
But look, I want to talk about something just before we get into the topics of the panel, and it's obviously very concerning news regarding Manuel Solomon. Paul O'Keefe saying that Manuel Solomon has suffered an MCL injury and faces potentially 2 to 3 months out. Reports from a chap called Raz Amir, an Israeli journalist, says that Manuel Solomon has suffered a meniscus injury in training and set to undergo surgery tomorrow, which will result in him being out to 3 to 4 months. I mean, with the news about Heung-min Son, he's also suffering from injury, not being able to train as often. Brennan Johnson out injured, and also Perisic obviously out for the rest of the season. Sean, how concerning is this for you?
Yeah, it's really concerning, mate. It's really concerning. Listen, I hate the international breaks, but it can't come soon enough. You hope that one, we can get through Luton, and you hope that a little bit of break can give some respite for people like Maddison and Sonny to get whatever niggles they're going through. And I don't know the details. Let me know if you do. But and hopefully we can get them back fighting fit, and hopefully they don't go on international duty, and so they can get themselves prepared for what's coming up in December. But yeah, in terms of like getting 4 or 5 body blows in the same area of the team at the same time, it feels a little bit reminiscent of last season, to be honest, when around the same time we got 2 or 3, we couldn't really field any attacking options off the bench. I think this time round it looks like it's going to be something similar, but what I would say is, come of the hour, come of the man, there's out of every adversity there's opportunity. You hope that Brian Hill might get a chance, if he's fully fit, to step up. Maybe even someone like Jamie Donnelly, who's just absolutely smashing it in the under 21s. Maybe out of like these sorts of moments are what can give our youngsters or our players that are on the fringe the opportunity to show us what they're made of, and you hope that they can step up. But obviously on paper, it's horrible, mate. And in January, we're going to have to go again in the market in an area that we might not have necessarily had intentions to go again in. So it is what it is, though, right?
Henry, in terms of the charge for the title, which I heard you speaking about on Sunday night, what do you reckon? Does this
why are you all laughing? Just say it. Just say title. I don't know why we're laughing here. Like, we saw Man United last night, that Moroccan Lee Catamol, like, playing left back. Everyone's talking about teams. Like, why not? Like, I'd rather the injury be a winger than a centre back. I know, like, trying to make a good positive out of it, which I can't believe I'm saying it because I get this negative tag. But I'd rather it be a winger where we've got a little bit more depth. And if it was Romero or Van der Ven, it would be a big, big worry. It's a shame for Solomon, isn't it? He had a good game against Burnley, a couple of assists, didn't do much against Sheffield United, and then, it hasn't really had like a consecutive 4 or 5 games yet, and he gets injured. But in terms of this, like, the amount of mud, quote unquote, I've got for saying that what's the difference between what we're doing right now and Arsenal, like, I really don't. Like, I'm not even trying to jump on this, like, Babs, like, this phase stuff that he does over at Arsenal. But right now, we're 4 months into our process, project, journey, whatever you want to call it. And we're miles ahead than when Arsenal were. Arsenal were, struggling down in 8th.
Yeah.
Like, we're sitting here watching the best.
We are only 7 games into a season, though, Henry.
Yeah, but look at our next 4 games. They're winnable games. And if you're saying you get a rough idea where a team are roughly, okay, everything can change if we get a couple of injuries. But if we're 10, 11 games in on the form we're on now, then why not go top 3, top 2? Why not? Get a couple of bodies in January. Everyone's laughing at me. Like when Nigel Farage says, well, you're not laughing now, are you? If Levy goes in and gives Postecoglou the keys, then why not, mate? Why not?
Sim, what are you thinking about the injury for Manor Solomon?
Yeah, it's gutting for him, isn't it? And off the back as well, if I remember rightly, last season, he had a very serious injury which kept him out for around 6 months, didn't it?
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, when he started for Fulham. He, again, very similar. Like he had a few games for Fulham, got an injury, and then came back 6 months, then had like a few good games, and then it kind of petered out for him. This season, he's had a few good games, and now he's picked up a serious injury. MCL though, didn't Bentancur do his MCL? Was it an ACL? Because I thought
wasn't he like a grade 3 though or something? Isn't there?
Maybe it was a more serious MCL that Bentancur did. But look, it's gutting for him because I thought he'd been playing fairly well, especially when in the 2 starts he had against Burnley and Sheffield United. I thought he was probably one of our stronger players in those games. And considering that Perisic is also out, our 2 potentially starting left wingers, Perisic and Solomon, going into the season, are now both out for a significant portion of the season. So that's a massive blow. Thankfully, Richarlison had a great game out on the left, I thought, against Liverpool last time out, and he can play there. As Sean said, Brian Hill's coming back into the fold now, and he's definitely a player who can play in that position. We know if need be, Son can fill in that position as well, albeit we probably still want him down the centre. Maybe if Son is going to have some time there, that could maybe give some opportunities to someone like a Valise potentially down the centre, or maybe even a Jamie Donnelly as well. So look, we have options. Brennan Johnson can still play on the left as well. We started on the left against Arsenal. So thankfully, I don't think in terms of look, if we as Henry Wright, I think correctly said, if we're going to get an injury somewhere, I think that's probably the position we probably can most fill in for. I would say on the left-hand side.
How many more injuries can we accept there? They're mounting up like wildfire here. I mean,
but you'd rather it be there than
no, 100%.
We got Johnson.
Not anymore though. Until now, until this point, you'd rather it be there. But you don't want any more there.
Yeah.
Now you need to
you
go
don't
somewhere
want
else.
stop, do you? But yeah.
Well, right now you're talking about, because right now we're talking about players who are maybe potentially first choice in other positions, filling in on the left. So if they get injured, all of a sudden that leaves other positions like light, if you know what I mean. So look, we got Johnson, we got Richarlison, we got Hill. They could all play. Oh, and also, say it very, very quietly, Ryan Sessegnon is coming back to full fitness as well. So we got Ryan Sessegnon. All right, you can say what you want about Ryan Sessegnon, but he could also be an option there. All right, you don't want to completely rule that out. We haven't seen what Ange can do with a fully fit Ryan Sessegnon. I don't think we've seen what anyone can do with a fully fit Ryan Sessegnon yet.
You were saying the same things in August about Tanguy Ndombele.
All right. Well,
Did you see him last night, by the way?
He was great last night.
Yeah, he was
great. He was cooking. United couldn't touch him. Maybe bring him back in January. But anyway, that's a talk for another point. Another day.
Sanchez got 2 assists.
Sessegnon isn't an attitude thing. It's a fitness thing and a quality thing. But anyway, look, he's also there. I'm just saying we have options that could maybe fill in if need be. So as much as I'm gutted for Solomon, it did start well for him at Spurs, and I was excited to see him given more opportunities with Son moving centrally. But that's got to be gutting. But I do wonder where that leaves him when it comes to his overall standing within the squad. Because let's say he comes back in March time. What are we saying?
October, November, December, January,
February.
Okay, so he's still got the second half of the season to come through. Because I was thinking if he's going to miss a big portion of the season, I wonder what we think of him next season. Do we see him as a main option, or do we just buy someone and assuming like he's going to be third or fourth choice or something like that? Because I do believe him coming on a free, he's kind of he needs to prove himself a bit in a way. But even though I think it's a smart signing, like, it's not a signing that I'm still convinced by in terms of he can be a proper option, like starting every week for us. And I still think he needs to prove that to us. And I still think Ange isn't convinced, judging by how he's used him, in my opinion, that he's going to be his main winger at any point. So look, he's going to have the second half of the season. So it's not like he's going to, come back in April and he's not going to have much time to prove himself. He will still have some time, but it'll just be interesting to see what happens at the second half of the season with him.
Yeah. Do you think that if Jota is available in January for a cut price free from the Saudis, that we go in for him?
I would like to see that, to be honest. I think it just provides another option. And I think it's someone who I think I would be more comfortable with as an option than Solomon. But it just depends about what Postecoglou thinks of Solomon. Look, the reality is if Postecoglou really likes Solomon and is convinced by him, there is no need to sign Jota. That's the truth. But if we do go in for someone like Jota, I think that says a lot, in my opinion.
All right, let's move on and let's cast your mind back to Sunday where we got that brilliant win against Liverpool in the last minute of the game. I'm hearing a lot of rival fans being like, oh, Spurs were crap on the day. They didn't deserve anything, blah, blah, blah. So, Henry, do you think we did deserve the 3 points on Sunday? Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say Saturday. Was it Sunday? Saturday, yeah.
They're all merging into one for me, mate. So don't take any notice of me.
Every day's a good day at the moment for us, isn't it? I think, do we deserve the points? I mean, look, all the rival fans are going to say Liverpool have been hard done by, right? And we've all watched the footage. Everyone's watched it. But it's about time. I don't like winning like that, but it's about time something actually went for us. The amount of VAR decisions that have gone against us. Do you remember, cast your mind back, do you remember when we played Sheffield United and Lucas Moura fell onto the ball and they gave it as a handball? Stupid stuff like that goes against us. In that game, I actually think we played our best football when it was 11 versus 11. When they went down to 10 and 9, they sat back, and all we did for the majority of that time was pass it around their box because we couldn't find a way in, and all we were doing was giving it to Kulu. But did we deserve the points? For me, I'm going to say yes, we did. We dominated possession. Obviously, we had more players, but even when it was 11 versus 11, I felt that we were in control to a degree. Liverpool, for me, the way that they set up exactly like they thought they were extremely dangerous on the counter. The likes of Salah, Diaz. I'm surprised they didn't bring Nunes in. I don't know if he was injured or not, but, these players like Bissouma, I thought he had a very good game. I know someone said he's on 4 yellow cards, which is a bit of a worry. I thought Maddison was a bit quiet. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it was his best game. I know he played the ball into Richarlison for the first goal, but I thought he was a bit quiet. Vicario made some top saves. But on the balance, I'd say, yes, we deserve it. And that's, I think, our best start in what someone said the other day, isn't it? 71 years now. Our best start to a season or something like that. Which is... I
mean, in when we won the double, I think we won the first 14 out of 15 games or something like that. So
what's that? 60 odd years ago or whatever it is now, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we deserved it. I don't know what you guys think, but for me, we when it was 11 versus 11, I thought we played our best football. When they went down, Liverpool defended well and made it hard for us. People are going to say in the comments, but the goal should have stood. But this happens. The amount of VAR decisions that have gone in favour of Man City or gone in favour of Liverpool and Arsenal, but the minute it's against Liverpool, everyone's up in arms. No one cared when was it the Wolves game in the cup when they got knocked out and it went for them. They weren't crying saying, Wolves maybe should have gone through, but because it's against them, and we all know how Sky love to talk about Liverpool City and United, everyone's crying about it. Just move on. Just move on, mate. It's one game. I don't know what you guys think. That's just me.
I think when it was 11v11, I actually thought Liverpool probably edged it and were the better side. But I did think once they went down to 10 men when the second half started, I thought we were well the better side from then on until maybe the other man got sent off. And I hate this kind of thing where opposition fans go, oh yeah, but we had 10 men. Yeah, but it's your fault you had 10 men. You're putting in challenges like that. High leg on
in that position,
and the Jota sending off. I mean, it's not like that was our doing. That was your doing. So don't come at it like us with an excuse of why we beat you because that was the situation. You're the ones that put yourselves in that situation. So I hate that kind of excuse. But I think when you take the game and look at the 90-minute period, then I do think we deserve to win because I think we were a better team throughout the 90 minutes. Sean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think a lot of what my thoughts have been spoken by the two of you. I agree with you, Ben, 100% that excuses like, oh, you don't deserve to win because you needed an own goal to score or to take the 3 points, or you had to beat 9 men. Part of playing well is keeping 11 people on the pitch. Part of playing well is not being rash with your challenges, or if you get a yellow card, even if it is an unlucky one, to then not go rash and not dive in 30 seconds later. So look, I think the 11 against 11, I thought the Liverpool started well, but Tottenham always start slowly anyway. In every single game, Tottenham are always out of the trap slower. It's just the way we play. So when you look at the kind of momentumometer or whatever that thing is, you're going to always see in the opening minutes, generally speaking, it doesn't matter who you play, you're always going to see the opposition have those first 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. I think that Tottenham were a match, or if not better, against 10 men. And obviously, once it became against 9 men, it was one-way traffic with them just shutting up shop and parking the bus. And it was a way to figure out how we could break them down. It annoys me when people say, oh, you don't deserve to win because it took you nearly 100 minutes to win. I'm sorry, is there suddenly more value to scoring in the first minute than there is in the 90th? That's just irrelevant. The game is how long it is. You've got as many opportunities, you've got as much time as you have to score. And Tottenham are finding a way to get it done late, which I think is a test. If Man United were getting it done, or if Arsenal were scoring in the 95th minute, or City or Liverpool, the narrative would be that's the mentality of champions. When Tottenham
Arsenal did. Do you remember Nelson's goal against Bournemouth? Everyone was going, it's a change of mentality. Yet when I say we've got 3 late goals against Liverpool and Sheffield United, you're this deluded Spurs fan. What is the difference?
Yeah, you're lucky. Your team can't do it. Your team can't do it. It takes a moment of luck in the last second. It drives me up the wall. But you know what? But I genuinely don't know. People saying I've had so many arguments this week with my mates that are Liverpool fans who have this idea that Liverpool were robbed of a result because they were robbed of a goal. Even Mark Goldbridge and those sorts of guys saying that Liverpool were robbed of at least a point, probably all 3. How can you possibly know what would have happened had the goal stood? It's a whole new timeline, whole new reality. They were robbed of a goal. That was it. And I feel bad on that basis. I feel like it's a shame because an otherwise cracking game didn't play out the way it could have and should have. But ultimately, Tottenham didn't do anything wrong. You have to play what's in front of you. And we found a way in the end. I do have my concerns about the fact that Tottenham didn't know how to create effective chances against 9 men. And that, to me, is a question mark that, I worry about a little bit. I think that, have Tottenham never practiced against what to do against 10 men? Why was it that why wasn't somebody tapping on Bissouma on the shoulder and saying, mate, you've got to hurry the ball around quicker. You've got to get the wide guys, stay wide. You have to spread the park as much as you can. There was no communication going on. So I've got kind of black marks against the overall performance. But on the day overall, there's no way you could say that Liverpool deserved to win. So for me, I think Tottenham did deserve the points, 100%.
Sim?
Look, I'm going to caveat this by saying I was delighted that we got the victory. I thought that the persistence and the mentality to pretty much go to the end was fantastic, and I was proud of the team, even if I wasn't too happy with the performance. But I think 11v11, I was happy with the performance. I thought maybe Liverpool were shading it, but I thought we were definitely in the game. That midfield was bossing it. And look, and to be fair, against Arsenal, against Man United, we've seen this Tottenham team struggle in the early exchanges and then find solutions and find their way to build up and play out from the back and ultimately take control of those games. And so there's nothing in this game to suggest that we wouldn't have done this against a Liverpool team, even though they were maybe shading the early exchanges. Although, again, I think we also hit them with a couple of moments our end as well. So I'm not saying they were totally dominant, but maybe they shaded those early exchanges. But once they went down to 10 men, we had a really great period just after their goal got disallowed where we were really on top. We scored the goal. Richarlison hits the post. We were looking like we could have gone maybe a second goal. But we did lose control of that game a bit, even with 10 men at the end of that first half. We conceded the goal. We probably should have gone 2-1 down as well through Luis Diaz, and there were warning signs even before because Diaz scored, which obviously got ruled out from offside. That was at 0-0. So there were warning signs there. They had that ending to the first half, which I felt we ended that half really poorly, and Ange acknowledged that after the game. And look, and that was really disappointing. We came out the second half. And I think we started really well. I have to say, Alisson made a couple of cracking saves. We were looking a lot quicker, a lot sharper, and we were looking to really press our advantage. But I think that 9 men did change it. And I have to say, when they went down to 9 men, I think Liverpool defended exceptionally well, albeit they only had one option, which is to put literally 8 outfield players in and around the penalty area, defend really deep, clog up all the central areas, gift us a bit of space out wide, knowing that we've got no aerial ability in the box because Son was there, and we weren't really flooding enough players in the box. And I have to say, for those last 20 minutes, that was one of the most frustrating 20 minutes I've ever seen. I think from a Tottenham performance, I think I'm looking at the stats here. We had 3 shots in that 20 minutes. So it was 20 minutes plus 6 minutes added on time, so closer to half an hour, really. We had 3 shots. I think what annoyed me as well is that Porro and Udogie kept being inverted, which I felt like was the wrong decision. They needed to be playing out wide and getting literally the first time we did it, Porro forced his own goal. That was literally the first time we did it throughout that whole 20-minute spell. We didn't have any sort of shots from outside the box. Obviously, Maddison and Son went off, and maybe we lost a bit of quality because of those 2 players going off. That was a bit frustrating, but I don't think we varied our attack enough. As Ange said, that I completely agree with that. We kept doing the same thing. We didn't ask enough questions of that back line as much as they defended well, and it was always going to be difficult to break them down. We didn't ask any questions of them. All we did was get to the edge of the penalty box and pass it until someone cut inside and overhit a cross or had a shot blocked. That was it. We didn't really ask any questions whatsoever. And I turned around to the guy next to me, but 5 minutes before we scored, I said, the only way we're getting we're getting 3 points here is a lucky deflection or an own goal. That is the only way, because we're not doing anything. And we did get that bit of luck. But I have to say, if I'm a Liverpool fan, I look, if we didn't get their own goal, essentially, I think Liverpool fully deserved that point. I wouldn't say they deserved the win, but I don't think you can sit here and say Liverpool wouldn't have deserved the point if Matip clears that cross over the bar rather than his net. I think you have to say Liverpool deserved that point because when they scored the goal, they earned that moment. They were on top of that moment, and when they went down to 9 men, they defended exceptionally, and we didn't create anything. So I can't say that the point wouldn't have been deserved for Liverpool, but at the end of the day, we kept going and we got the goal. So I'm delighted with that. But I think we got lucky. I think we probably deserved to draw the game.
Do you think though? I was having an argument with someone outside about this. When you bring on Richarlison and Veliz, Richarlison, I think we can. I don't know if you will agree that his best asset is his aerial threat, and Veliz, from what we know of him, from what we've seen his highlight reel, and from what we've seen in the under-21s, he's an aerial threat kind of guy. I mean, I was infuriated by the fact. I completely agree with you, Sim, that we weren't pushing it wide enough. Either the fullbacks weren't staying out wide, or if they were inverting, when Decky was given the ball 25 times, he would just do his usual cut inside thing. It was infuriating to me that we weren't popping any balls into the area to allow the 2 big target men to try and to throw some area weight in it. But people outside were arguing with me saying that would have been a silly thing to do against the size of the Liverpool defence that was still on the pitch at the time. And I don't.
But look at Sheffield United's
thinking,
defenders.
which one would have been better, whipping it low from the wide or whipping it in the air from wide?
Well,
Any cross. Any
For
cross.
me, they 9 men, right? They took off Salah, they took off Diaz, Jota was sent off. They didn't have any attackers on, right? So you've just got to throw. At that point, in my opinion, you throw caution to the wind. You take off the defender. You bring on Valise. You literally go gung ho. You literally throw everything. I don't think we went even. I think we actually were a bit too pragmatic against 9 men. I know maybe if you look at a picture at the end of the game, you have Romero and Van de Ven in and around the penalty area. But I think for a lot of that period, we were actually too worried than we should have been of Liverpool maybe getting a counter attack. And you can maybe sense that with what Postecoglou was saying at the end of the game, saying they still maintain the threat and all that kind of stuff, which I understand maybe with 10 men, but with 9 men, I don't think that was true. So I think what you've got to do in that situation, what I would do is you've got 2 players extra, right? So you've got to flood the area and outnumber them. That's the only way. Yes, they're going to, with Konate, Van Dijk, and Matip, they're going to have the aerial advantage physically. But if you outnumber them with sheer numbers and you put crosses in the box, you're going to get some joy if you put enough crosses.
The only problem with that
is if you're outnumbering them in the box because of you've got a 2-man advantage. If you just keep going and you keep pumping cross in the box, one of them you will get on the end of. It's just the law of averages. It's just math. It's just maths. So, and I don't think we did that. If you take a screenshot any one moment of in that period, we maybe had 2 or 3 men in the box, but I think we should have thrown even more caution to the wind. We should have completely flooded the box with as many players as possible, maybe leaving a few at the back. Even if we just literally flooded everyone and you left maybe 1 or 2, one player at the back, just
leave Porro and Adoji at the back.
You just leave Van de Ven. He's got enough pace to deal with Szoboszlai on the break. All they had was Szoboszlai. That's all they had trying on his own. So you literally keep Van de Ven there and you flood everyone forward. You get the wing backs on out wide who are crossing on the outside, crossing it across the face of goal. And yeah, I'm sure they'll clear a few, but one we would have stuck away. And I think we were too pragmatic actually against 9 men.
Can I just add one thing? Do you know the last 10 minutes we were crying out for was a Perisic delivery. Every time we gave it to Kulu,
100%.
I never really feel comfortable with him crossing the ball. I'd never look at him and think, go on, whip it in. I just feel that he's always going to try and take the man on. The same with Solomon.
Always going to cut inside, always.
Yeah, and with Son, he tries to do these kind of low, like dipping crosses that land towards the lower part of the body. As soon as Perisic gets the ball, you know that's going to be a whipped cross with pace, and it's going to be on the money 7 out of 10 times. Right, that was with Valise in there and Richarlison, Romero, Van de Ven. We were crying out, but unfortunately, at that point, we took off Son, we took off Maddison. The only real probably cross of the ball we had was Porro, and then, like Sim said, the one time we did get out wide, he put a cross in, we scored.
Do you know what really annoys me though about Decky, mate? Decky, for me, we all know how predictable he is. We all know that he favours his left. But every single time that I've actually seen him take a man on under duress, he doesn't want to do it. But when he does take the man on and go to the byline, I don't think I've ever seen him not put in a decent, dangerous ball with his right foot. I don't know why he doesn't use it more often. Like, it's not like he's an entirely one-footed player. I know he clearly favours his left foot. But when it's that predictable, and when the left back will always show him on the outside, to cut that area out. The few times a game, the one time a game that he does actually go and use his right foot, the crosses that he puts in, whether them low or high, are never that bad. And it annoys me that he doesn't want to do it more, because that in and of itself,
is it a confidence thing?
Well, if he doesn't want to do it with his right foot, then put him out on the left-hand side for a while. Try him on the left. We've got injuries on our left-hand side now. Maybe put him out on the left and let him use that left foot to whip balls in from the byline rather than from cutting in. I want to see him do what Postecoglou's wingers traditionally do, which is get to the byline and let the fullbacks invert and then occupy that space. He seems to want to do the job of Porro, and it's a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he doesn't use his right foot more. I agree. I think whenever he does, he actually seems pretty good at going on the outside when he does do it, but he doesn't do it enough. And I don't know. It's a difficult one to say. But I think Concetti's doing a good job for the team. It's not. I don't think it's a confidence thing.
What else could it be?
I don't know. I can't. It's difficult to say. I think he is pretty good at cutting in from his left, so maybe he thinks that's a good weapon because it's physically when he stands up against someone, when he's squared up against a defender and he's close to them, it's very hard for them to stop him going on in his left because he's so strong. So maybe he just thinks
same thing every single time. You could see it wasn't working against Liverpool. We needed to find different options. So at least at that point, why not go outside and cross in on your right foot? It just doesn't make any sense.
I agree. I had a lot of criticisms for Kulusevski in that last 20 minutes. I thought we had a good game overall, but those last 20 minutes, I was very frustrated with him.
In terms of this mad Klopp press conference today, like, what is going on in this world? I mean, he's calling for a replay. It's like he's acting like he's the first ever manager or the first ever club to ever get a bad decision from VAR. I mean, I brought it on the Tottenham update earlier today. There have been 5 different situations in the last year where goals have been ruled out or given, and wrongly so, by VAR. He's calling it unprecedented, the decision not to allow that goal. And he also said Jota's red card, it's unprecedented that someone gets sent off without touching an opposition player once. And I'm like, how many lies can you tell in one press conference? I'm like,
he just needs to move on and get over it. Like, it's one game, Ben. Let's be honest, Liverpool ain't winning the Premier League. I don't care what anyone says. We all know deep down, way deep down, Man City are going to win it, regardless of their, lost to Wolves and they lost in the cup. Man City winning the league.
Going to win it, Henry.
Well, you never know. It's title race. If you can't see what Levy and Postecoglou are doing, you can F off down the Emirates. That's another one. I guess. The one thing I will say is, for obvious reasons, we can't replay this game, right? If that was going to happen, then replay the Champions League final where we got robbed of a penalty that could have changed the result.
So, Henry, we need to replay every single Spurs-Liverpool game over the past 5 years, essentially.
Exactly. We're flipping, what was it, Jota kicked skip, Robertson
European football, by the way. That particular one, the Klopp one, when he the Jota one, when he turned around and said to Ryan Mason, I think you should worry about other things, dismissive about his concerns. That particular thing, because people in COP, like Alan Sugar, always people saying, oh, this might have sort of dire outcomes or big outcomes that are going to affect things. And that particular goal that Jota scored when he shouldn't have been on the pitch cost us European football. We would be playing in the Conference League right now.
And we're not sitting here moaning, are we?
We're not crying about it.
Sitting here throwing our toys out of pram. Jurgen Klopp, I can't stand him. Whenever something doesn't go to plan, he doesn't just take it on the chin and go, do you know what? We lost. It happens. A decision didn't go our way. He throws his toys out the pram, kicks off in a press conference. You know the reporters, you know what questions they're going to ask you. And he goes, I think a replay should happen. I've spoken to loads of Liverpool fans that have just said, we need to just move on now. We've got a Europa League game. We've got a game against Brighton. We've got City, I think, in 4 or 5 weeks. We need to move on. Why are we're going to be, we're playing 3 days' time and we're still talking about a VAR decision. How many times has it gone for us, gone against us? Brighton weren't going mad for 3 or 4 days when that Matoma goal that was wrongly ruled out. They just got over it and moved on. Because it's Liverpool and Sky Sports have this PR elite machine that everything Liverpool do is sunshine and rainbows. I don't get, just move on. It's football. Things don't always go your way. You want to see what we've had to support the last 22 years.
Yeah, but you know what, Henry, mate, but by playing, he knows that deep down there's never going to be a replay. I personally think it's embarrassing what he did and what he said. And even my Liverpool mates who I've argued with all week about the individual circumstances, they've all come out and said that's pretty weak from Jurgen Klopp. But what he's really doing, he's probably thinking deep down he's playing 3 or 4D chess here, that he's working on this kind of Liverpool martyrdom thing where they're all martyrs, they're all victims to these horrible slices of luck that everyone's against them. But he's lining up for a system where he can draw back on this and this conversation can rumble on so that the balance of probabilities give him every 50-50 over the next however long. Against Brighton, you know that something will happen where it will go in their favour. And against Tottenham later on in the season, it will go their favour. By keeping this bell, by ringing this bell as long and as loud as they are, it gives more and more noise and momentum so that the next time Liverpool need some favour in a game, some 50-50, that the referee is going to lean, that the on-field referee is going to lean one direction on it. And then when it comes to the VAR determining whether or not there's a clear and obvious error, which is, again, the problem with VAR is that you've got subjective decisions on the field. And as long as there's logic to the subjectivity, then the subjective definition of clear and obvious can obviously mean that that's the reason why you can have situations where Romero's handball one week is a penalty, the next week it's not. It's because if the VAR can decide, there's a logic to why, it's not a penalty here, then it's not an obvious error. And so, like, what he's doing by ringing that bell long and loud is that he's making sure that the next 2 or 3 opportunities where a 50-50 goes his way, he'll get it, and then the VAR won't intervene. So it's clever, if not embarrassing.
Of course, it's embarrassing. It's 100% embarrassing. But, like, let's say, for argument's sake, they do issue the replay, or they ask Spurs if they would give the replay. Like, how much of a dangerous precedent can that be for future kind of rulings and future years of the Premier League? Like, how far are they going to take it if it does go down that route? It's absolutely nuts. I mean, this could have major ramifications if something like this was to ever go through. I don't think it will, but I mean, I just think it's an absolute joke what Klopp is saying. This guy has been there, he's done it, and he's asking for a replay for a bad refereeing decision. Like, have a wobble, have a check with yourself, mate.
What is the difference between this goal being chalked off or not given from VAR and other decisions that VAR have got involved in and wrongly done so, like other goals? For example, the one that last season where West Ham score, VAR intervenes and disallows the goal. The PGMOL the next day say actually VAR should never have intervened. It was never a foul, and the goal was allowed. So why is that not going against the rules as well? Like, if is that not applying the rules wrongly? What is the difference in terms of that decision from VAR being wrong and this goal? Like is the
difference on this one? The reason why it's unique is because the only reason that it wasn't overruled and gone the correct outcome happened was because during the game they realized the mistake had been made, but the rules prohibited the change of decision because the game had already restarted. It was just a communication.
The outcome, right, is VAR should have given the goal, and there was a mix-up, right, and the goal wasn't given. But in another instance that we're talking about, VAR actively comes in and a goal is given, and VAR actively come in and take away a goal which should never have been taken away because they applied the laws wrongly. So in terms of like sporting integrity, what's the difference between that for what Klopp is saying? Why can't they call for a replay for that incident and they can call a replay for the Liverpool one? And also, I want to say to you, Jurgen Klopp, if he's calling for a replay, if Liverpool would have won the game, would he still be calling for a replay? Like, you can't just call for a replay because you don't like the result, essentially. And if they would have won, he wouldn't be calling for a replay. So I think that's the only difference. I don't think you can just come and say, I don't like the result of this game, so let's get it replayed. He wouldn't be calling. If you're going to actually actively have a replaying of a game, it has to be because there's something wrong happened within the game actively that under any result has to be replayed. You can't just replay it because you don't like the result or the outcome of the game. So I just think it's
when was the last time any game was ever replayed for anything else other than
Arsenal, Sheffield United in '99?
And what was the reason?
It was because I think the ball should have been kicked out or something, and Arsenal played on and scored a goal and knocked Sheffield United out of the cup. And Arsene Wenger offered them a replay.
Wow. Okay.
Can you imagine the Premier League calling Daniel Levy and saying, you've got to replay that game? There is no way on this planet that game gets replayed. There is no way. Just
Shakhtar Donetsk have got more chance of getting £6.5 million out of Daniel.
Yeah, like it's bonkers. Like, do you guys remember when Villa played Sheffield United and the ball wasn't over the line and that goal ended up losing them the game and they went down? Mm-hmm. Like, we're talking about a Premier League team dropping out of a division. This is one game. We're 7 games in. Like everyone keeps telling me about this title race. Calm. Like, it's one game. Move on. Like, Jurgen Klopp, this is Guardiola. Like, he takes it on the chin. Everyone was going at them about 115 charges, this, that, Man City are cheats. He stood there and went, that's fine. And then we saw a new animal. If anything, Jurgen Klopp now should go on a 15-game run like Liverpool should, show their quality and say, all right, we'll just show everyone we're better than them. But no, he's throwing his toys out the pram. Right, go and play your Wi-Fi password on Thursday night and just move on. Like, it's ridiculous, mate.
And what does he want? Like, if the game was to be replayed, are we going to start the game with Liverpool down to 10 men?
Start on 9 men then.
Yeah,
You know
if the game gets replayed, is Curtis Jones available? Does that red card?
They should start with 10 men without Curtis Jones. It has to.
Would that red card happen if we're replaying the game? Like, did the red card happen? Is he suspended?
The red card happened before that incident happened.
If we're replaying the game, are we starting from minute 1? Are we starting from 1-0 Liverpool?
Everything before that incident is completely fine. So why should that first instance of the game be chalked off?
Yeah, I don't. It opens a whole can of worms. It's
never happening, is it? Let's be honest.
Never happening. In terms of, while we're on the topic of VAR, though, we heard the audio yesterday, didn't we, from the goal being disallowed? Is there anything, like, what was your reaction to it? Was there anything you learned maybe you're not hearing from other people say? Like, is there anything? Obviously, it was hilarious to watch, like, the VAR room just absolutely like panic, essentially, when they realized what had happened. It was quite comedic, I have to say. But, like, watching that, what were you like? Was there anything you took away from that?
They were rushing. Feels to me like they were rushing. Like, as the replay started, you could already hear, the first thing you could hear someone saying was, like, both of them pulling or something, both pulling. So, like, one of them was already looking at the two players, at Salah and whoever it was, before the ball got there. As soon as that, he goes, that's perfect, and the goal's perfect, and then someone else was like, okay, come back. It felt to me like they were in an incredible rush to get through the process, because maybe they're under too much pressure about the delays to get to the game and how much time it takes out of the game. And so if you're going to cut corners in an effort to reduce the amount of time it takes, then again, that's always going to end in sloppy outcomes. And also the communication clearly needs to be defined better, rather than saying check complete. It needs the person who's saying it, who's given the information back to the ref, needs to say that's a goal stands, or goal disallowed. Like a couple of changes here and there.
Onside, yeah, exactly.
A couple of changes, like actually people in the VAR room actually watching the game. That would be actually quite nice as well.
That would help. Yeah, they know what they're checking. He was just looking. What it is as well. He know what he was looking at. It's crazy.
There was no. The thing that's more worrying is the referee hasn't got a clue what's going on. He's, as far as we're concerned, the referee said there's a check going on, and it was offside. But you've got 30, 40 different cameras. If you're sitting at home in the millions, or watching it on a legal stream, or whatever you're doing, watch it on your iPad, you can see on the one camera angle that Romero plays Diaz onside. But the guy that's paid hundreds of thousands of pounds, we're talking about the Premier League here. We're not talking about your Sunday League side, Dartford against Billericay Town in your local league. We're talking about the most talked about football league on the planet. And like Sean said, it was rushed. Yep, let's go, mate. Perfect. It's like he's getting a pint from the pub. Like, yep, that's it. That would do. Yep, down it. There we go.
It come down to that, though, right? Where the hell is semi-automated offsides? If semi-automated offsides is implemented, none of this happens.
What I don't understand is, like, this whole they can't come back if a decision's been made and all this stuff. But it's like, how many times have we seen, like, an incident happen and the game goes on for like 3 minutes, and then we have to go back because the ball hasn't gone out of play, and we go back to an incident 3 minutes ago to like a penalty or something or whatever, and then the referee has to go to the screen and look at that. So this whole argument, like they couldn't have stopped the game 10 seconds or 5 seconds after it restarted.
Went out of play twice.
Like they could have. No one would have said anything. This whole thing, like, oh, there would have been uproar if they went back to this. No, there wouldn't. Yes, Spurs fans might have been pissed off at that in the moment, but after the game, they'd be like, look, it's a goal. What can we say? Yeah, the game stopped, but at the end of the day, if the goal was a goal, it was a goal.
If Tottenham had scored from the offside restart within like 10 seconds before the VAR had realised the mistake, then I think, especially without the communication into the stadium, suddenly if they blow the whistle, he does this, and he's like, well, wait a minute. And then he goes, actually, the goal, cancel that out. This one. And
no, but that can happen. That can happen anyway, Sean. That can happen anyway. If a guy gets fouled in one box and it's not given when it should have been, and then they go up the other end and score, that goal is getting chalked off. And it's going to penalty will be given the other way. So that can happen. So I don't understand why they wouldn't have just look. It is a shitty situation because they made a mistake. Maybe they didn't want to draw attention to their mistake more than anything. Maybe they wanted to somehow go under the radar.
They knew it was going to blow up in their faces after the game.
They knew it was going to be. They knew they ballsed up massively. But I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. I think they had a chance to save the situation a few times. That replay operator was trying to get them to save the situation. He was like, "Look, you can still delay this. You can still save them." They were like, "Adamant, nope, we can't do anything. We can't." He's like, "Yes, you can. Just do something."
Can you imagine the sinking feeling in the VAR, whoever the VAR guy was, when he finally goes, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
can you imagine that?
You heard it.
At some point, common sense has to prevail. Common sense has to prevail over the laws of the game, in my opinion.
The
There's
guy
10 people in that room, by the way.
was trying to delay the game.
And I swear, like, didn't that at one point, like last season or season before, like a penalty was given after the final whistle?
Man United versus
Brighton, yeah.
Just like, so if that can happen, why can't they just go back and chalk off the goal?
Do you know what happens as well? This never happens in the Champions League or the Europa League. Why does it only happen?
Semi-automated offsides?
Right. So why have we got billions and billions pound Premier League, and we've got the worst officials in Europe?
Yeah.
Basically, while VAR check is going, you have to just get ready to kick off immediately from a free kick if you think that the decision, you know what I mean? Just so if in case they get it wrong, you just got to go, get the game kicked off immediately, and they can't go back. It's absolute madness. It's absolute madness. Exactly.
Opposition players, the ones that are kind of dubious of decision, should just hang around in the opposition kind of half so they can't kick off. That's what they should
exactly.
do.
Yeah.
All these games can start to go on now. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely crazy.
Let's go into a few super chats before we carry on. Moss Chop saying, "I'm happy to be a deluded Spurs fan under Big Ange." Henry, you can relate to this one, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, 1 minute I'm part of this negative duo of me and Sean. The next minute I'm jumping on the bandwagon calling phase one. Like I'd like I'm just getting behind the team. Like I'm happy to be deluded at the moment. But believe me, when we start losing, people are going to start getting called out.
You're just following Big Ange's instructions. He said, "Just go and believe. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go." He wants you
why
to
not, mate?
Get carried away. Get carried away. Why not?
Exactly.
And Aruv Kumar saying, "Liverpool fans the entire week have been saying we don't want a replay. We just want fair refereeing. Only Klopp to publicly state we want a replay." And I think that's the only way the fans can react, saying we don't want a replay. We want fair refereeing, and that's fair enough, isn't it?
The only positive thing from this, though, do you not think that if Liverpool were to contact other Premier League clubs and say, "Look, the refereeing, the VAR decisions, the officiating in this league is becoming a bit of a joke," do you think other teams in the league, seeing what had happened, would kind of... What I'm basically saying is, do you think the Premier League teams could come together and say, "Look, this has got to change," because some of the decisions we see week in, week out, it's like the next one is bigger than the next, and it's creating a domino effect. And like now we're seeing audio footage inside the VAR hub where there's 10 of them looking at 40 different screens, and they're still getting it wrong. Like, do you not think the teams could come together, and maybe have a committee and just say, "Look, we've got to contact the Premier League and sort the refereeing out"?
There's something
what's the solution? Like none of them are they're not deliberately trying to screw up, unless there is some ridiculous level of corruption and betting scandals and
but it's been in the league now for 2 or 3 years.
I know that,
and we're still seeing huge problems.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing more problems now than you've ever seen. But I don't know, unless you remove the subjectivity out of the game, which you can't do because football is a subjective game, then you're always going to have the referees making their subjective decisions in real time. And if the rules are based around whether or not the referees on the pitch make clear and obvious errors, you're going to lead to more subjectivity from people somewhere else that are then determining whether or not, and it's just, it becomes, it's a quagmire of opinions. And I don't think that there's an easy solution other than keep the stuff that is flawless, keep the things like goal line technology, keep those sorts of things, and anything that still requires subjectivity on some level, like a referee's determination of a foul, remove the VAR and just leave it with the on-field referee. Go back to the days when you had one person in the black who you could hate, who everyone could hate. Now there's this zero accountability.
Rather than 50.
Rather than, I don't know who to hate. I don't know if it's 10 men in the room. I don't know if it's the guy on the pitch or the linesman. I just think that if you've got subjectivity in the game, if you want to keep that element to it, which you should, because that's what football is, then leave it with the referee.
I never thought I'd say I actually miss Mike Dean.
It was simpler before VAR, wasn't it? It was simpler.
Yeah, with Mike Dean,
Mike Dean.
yeah, but at least you knew that he was consistent and wanted to be the star. So at least you knew something was going to go in the game rather than this BS of audio being released. It's like we're in the WWE and we've got a storyline going on and Vince is going to come out of a steel chair like, Jesus.
But then we had, if you remember when we played at Anfield, that game where Wanyama scored, if you remember, the audio kind of got leaked from that incident where the referee is going over to speak to the assistant, and he's basically saying, "I'm not sure what happened, but I'm going to give a penalty." And like, do we want that to like be the situation? Because I remember, like, if you watch that video, he's like saying, because the linesman is saying, look, if Lovren touched the ball, then Kane is onside. But if he didn't, then Kane's offside. And the referee goes, I'm not really sure if Lovren did touch the ball, but I'm going to give a penalty. Literally, he says that.
Yeah,
and
but
so,
it's
like,
not
you
even
don't want to referee like that either.
There are so many cases of it, Sim. There are so many cases. You have that one at Stamford Bridge last season where he didn't want to send over to the monitor because he's his mate. I can't remember which ones it was when Cuti Romero pulled Cucurella's hair. He's like, nah, I don't want to send him over because he's my mate. Where was the trouble? Why was there no ramifications over that? Like, and also the one against Arsenal last season against Brentford where they drew the lines in a different area. Lee Mason got suspended from that and got sacked. He's back in the VAR room now. It's an absolute joke.
He's probably in the VAR room in our game.
If you don't like what Mike Dean's doing, you can F off down the VAR room, mate. Yeah.
On Sky Sports now. He's doing VAR via Sky Sports on Gillette Soccer Saturday. He's sitting there still doing VAR, commentating on a VAR decision in another game.
Yeah.
Like,
anyway,
I don't know what the solution is for the VAR thing, but it's a quagmire of mess. And I think that any situation, it's never going to be perfect because there's always going to be some level of opinion about decisions.
Exactly. Just because everyone has a different interpretation of clear and obvious. So that's always going to lead to inconsistencies.
Let's move on to the last topic of the panel. And Henry, you're going to like this one. Can we finish above Arsenal this season?
absolutely.
A lot of Arsenal fans will call us deluded for even bringing it up as a topic. The audacity of Spurs fans to even think that we can finish above a club that we finished above 6 times over the last 7 years. But Henry, can we do it?
Look, if you would have said at the beginning of the season, I would have said no. Arsenal have signed Timber. They signed Timber, Rice. Timber's obviously got injured. Rice, I'm not counting Havertz because they basically play with 10 men every week, right? Rice and Timber. Timber's injured. I think they haven't strengthened in depth. They're in 4 competitions, playing every 4 or 5 days or every 3 or 4 days, whatever it may be. They're getting injuries left, right, and centre now. It's the 3rd game in a row. Saka's been down, holding his knee or his ankle. With us, we just need to quietly go about our business and take one game at a time. Arsenal, the minute they get knocked out of the League Cup or the FA Cup, it's going to be bigger fish to fry. If you look at both teams right now, I think they've got very good 11s. But the bench, you look at Liverpool brought on Gravenberch, Jota, Konate, XYZ. We're bringing on, a Højbjerg that can't really play this system. We don't have Perisic. We're bringing on Veliz, who's 19. But at this moment in time, I don't think Arsenal have been particularly great in any of their games, but they're getting results. I don't think their performances, they've blown teams away. Whereas I feel like us absolutely destroyed Burnley. We were the better team against Brentford. Apart from the first 30 minutes against Man United, we were the better team. Showed character and won late against Sheffield United and Liverpool. I don't think Arsenal are that good. I watched them last night against Lens, But did you see their goal, by the way, was absolutely disgusting. Their first goal. That's a team 15th in Ligue 1. Like, yeah, you blew PSV away, but you're playing every 4 days. I don't think they've got the squad. And I think right now, with us, as of the 4th of October, I say we do finish above them, providing we add 2 players in January.
We do, not that we can. You say we will.
We will bring 2 players in January. Whether they're going to be the right quality or not, I don't know. We know Levy normally goes and we'll add a couple of players in January, or 1 or 2. If we can bring in another, like, if we have another Benson Core, Kulusevski January, I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm normally the negative one, but Arsenal are not that good. Really, they're not. Last year, they had a fantastic year, but they were 1 game a week from November or October. They're in 4 competitions. You're not Man City. You haven't got depth oozing out of your veins. You know, they're shoehorning Kai Havertz for a penalty to score so the PR can go, oh, Kai Havertz scores again. It's his first goal of the season, mate. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. They've brought out more kits. They've already brought out 3. What have they brought out? 5 kits already this year? Like a universal kit. I thought every kit.
I love it. They got the gold trim like they're champions.
Yeah, they did a
genderless
kit. They did a genderless kit. It's like, is not all kits genderless?
That's what I'm saying. I think right now, I think Arsenal are crying out desperately for a number 9, desperately, and I think they will go in for potentially Ivan Toney or someone else. But I don't know. I look at the way we play. We played against them. We played our game for the first time. We haven't gone to Arsenal and had a pragmatic approach of let's ease into the game and go on a counter-attack. We come away with more possession and had the better chances. And for the first time in, I can't remember how long, we've beaten Man United and Liverpool and got points of Arsenal in a season. Like, I think Postecoglou is trying to change the mentality. And if we bring in a forward and a defender, I think we finish above Arsenal right now, because I think they'll go deeper into the Champions League. I think they'll get quarters. I think they'll go deep into the FA Cup. And we've got 1 game a week until January the 15th or whenever it is. We've got 6 games until December, whereas Arsenal have got 11. The injuries will start piling up. They've had Trossard out for a few games. Saka, Saliba's had a couple of wobbles. They can't choose which goalkeeper they want to play. 1 minute it's Ryan, the next minute it's Ramsdale. I don't think everything's as hunky-dory as everyone is telling me it is at Arsenal. Like, I don't know if I'm just being biased or whatever, but I don't think they're that good. I think they're getting points and they're winning games, but the performances haven't been that great.
Yeah, but you know, like with what you're saying about them, injuries mounting up for them, it's much more serious if injuries mount up for us, because we've literally got no cover whatsoever in a lot of positions. We've got more goalkeepers in our squad than we've got centre-backs and strikers. It's a joke. Like,
I know, when you think about that, it is hilarious.
We can talk about Arsenal all we want, but we've also got a much worse problem in terms of squad.
But we're not in 4 competitions.
I know we've got a lot less games, but players are already getting injured like a lot. Our left side has completely been decimated already. And we've only got 1 game.
I get that, but like, someone said Henry Wright is such a drag. Like, that's fine. Your last name's Vieira, mate. So you can keep saying that. But I look at, we've got 6 games until December. December's the real test when we've got 7 games, the likes of Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, West Ham, Bournemouth. That is when I expect us to pick up, not have these performances like we've had. If we hypothetically can get through the next 8 or 9 games unscathed, or 10 games, however long it is until January, and buy players, Arsenal have got Champions League and League Cup and Premier League. They've got a game, I think it's I looked at it the other day, I think it's every 4 days. We don't play, we've got Luton, and then we don't play for 9 days. Like, just doctor and nurse the injuries. Like, if one door closes where a player gets injured, another one opens. Like you guys are saying, if Sessegnon comes back, if he can get a tune out of Sessegnon, then he is absolutely mustard, Postecoglou, because Sessegnon is made of glass. You know, I've seen more meat on a chip. Like, I don't know what you guys think, but I think right now, as of right now, we finish above them.
Wow. Sean, what do you think? Can we finish above Arsenal, or will we finish above Arsenal?
Don't start going on this negative train. I've just bigged this up, Sean, by the way.
Hey, I was on this train before the season started. I don't know if you remember, Henry. I was on your channel having bets with you, and people in your comments.
That was about scoring goals, not finish. That was about scoring goals.
Yeah, Tottenham are going to outscore Arsenal this year, and thus far, I'm bang on the money. And I think that Tottenham can do things.
How much was that bet, by the way? How much was that bet?
40 quid? No, 20 quid. 20 quid.
Oh,
I had 100 quid with someone else. 20 quid, yeah. I had 100 quid with some guy called Always Gunner or something in the comments, and he's disappeared. I've been trying to find him, and I haven't seen him since. But anyway, I think that look, we can. Of course we can. It all comes down to injuries and how lucky we get. And at the moment, like, we've got away with it in key positions, but, we are starting to see them pile up. Can I ask you a quick question before I finish my point? If Tottenham hadn't registered a 25th player, if we'd left Hugo Lloris out of the squad and we had 24 players, if Jota was released right now, if his contract was torn up, could you have signed him and add him to the 25th player?
No, he has to be a free agent. He would have to be a free agent when the transfer window was open. If you
get him in January, though.
Otherwise, people will just release players now and they can make transfers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so only if they're a free agent. So we can sign Andros Townsend if you're open to it, but we can't sign.
Let's not do that. Let's not do an Arsenal thing. Get Ian reading out kits.
Why can we sign Andros Townsend? Because in the transfer window, he was a free agent.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You have to have been a free agent when the window was open.
You're in the window. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So there's the loophole. All right. So, I'm not open to Andros Townsend.
We can sign Jesse Lingard as well if you want. You want Jesse Lingard?
He's been training with the Spurs team, hasn't he? Or he's been training not with the team, but he's training at Hotspur Way. And he's got a left foot, I guess.
Are you talking about Jesse Lingard or are we talking about Townsend?
He was in the.
Jesse Lingard.
He's talking about Townsend. He's talking.
I take Lingard 100%.
Lingard. Eden Hazard we can take as well.
No, Henry, if you're part of the marketing team and you want our TikTok to pop off, maybe we can take Lingard. But other than that, I don't think any other reason to take him.
Like, genuinely, if you can get that Lingard that had 5 or 6 months at West Ham and give him a new lease of life, you've got a good squad player. I'd rather Lingard than Ryan Sessegnon, and if anyone is telling me they'd rather Sessegnon than Lingard, you are absolutely tapped. Because Ryan Sessegnon is made of glass and he's absolutely awful. At least Lingard has some ability. He's just lazy.
Either way, I think we'll be okay.
Eden Hazard and Bellarabi as well is also on a free.
Eden Hazard.
There's no
chance. Is Ange cooking here with Eden?
32.
32? He's not that old.
He's never coming to us. Let's just be. He's a Chelsea legend.
The Townsend on the wings. We can do it. Imagine
this isn't 2014. Like,
I don't know.
Don't let Eden Hazard anywhere near town.
Let me put it this way. Would you rather
get all the leftover cheeseburgers and then scoff them all down?
Would you rather sign Hazard on a free or give Sessegnon a second chance?
Sign Hazard on a free every day of the week.
Well, there you go.
I'd rather you on the left team than him. Like, he's absolutely awful. Like, genuinely, he'd be one of the first players would be out the door for me in January. One of the first. Like, I don't see what he does. Everyone tells me, but he's a young player, this and that. He's made of glass. He can't take a player on. He loses the ball constantly.
But when he was 16, he scored 16 goals in the Championship when he was 16.
That's fine. In the Championship, though, you're playing against Burton Hove Albion every week. Do it against Arsenal or Chelsea. Then maybe we can talk. But like,
scored at the Allianz Arena, mate. Scored at the Allianz Arena.
Like, come on. You two are more shameless than I am. Like we are not having Ryan Sessegnon in this team.
What about Iago Falque? He's available.
He was all right when he was in Roma.
Where is it? Is he the Spanish guy? Where's he now?
Former Spurs.
Free transfer.
Just promote Donnelly and just watch him blossom into this.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask. That's what I was going to ask you.
Magnificent creature.
Is Jamie Donnelly? What's he scored? 14 goal contributions in 7 games or something. 13 or 12 in 7. Right. And
have you seen the way he takes a penalty? By the way, it reminds me of someone else.
He can play everywhere as well. He's been asked to play 10, 9, 7, 11. He can,
and he's training with the first team.
Is he someone that might get minutes against Luton
I'd
I
give
don't
him
think
minutes.
off the bench?
I don't think he
Off
will.
the bench.
If
No.
we're 3 or 4-0 up, why not?
I think it's more likely it's actually Iago Santiago who's a proper out and out winger, because Jamie Donnelly he's a natural number 10. So I don't
Didn't he
feel like he's
score,
going to get the minutes.
Santiago, didn't he score against Chelsea, the first goal?
Yeah, he's been scoring all season. He's also having a brilliant time of it for the under-21s. And I think like he's actually more likely to get minutes on the left-hand side than maybe a Donnelly is on the left-hand
Is
side.
he training with the first team though?
I'm not 100% sure with that.
I don't think Iago's training with the first team. I think Donnelly. Well, I guess they're
Either way, though, the future looks bright with both of them. Like when you look
Mm.
at in the last 20 years, the only academy players we've had really come out into the first team is what Legley King, that player that went down to the road, Winks, Skip, and Kane. It seems like our under 21s are flying, and it's the first time in a long time our first 11 and our under 21s are kicking at the same time. And this is what we need: play the same system so that when a younger player comes in, you haven't got to adjust your game plan. We're not counter-attacking Sheffield United away. It's the same footballing style throughout the club. This is what the likes of Ajax and PSV and Benfica and Sporting do. That's exactly what I want to see. And it's great that 2 young players are doing extremely well.
You can only look at Arsenal as well. Look, how young was Saka when they brought him through? He was
17.
18, wasn't he? 17. Yeah, and look, he's a special talent. He's 1 in a million, but you never know that you would never know about a player until you give him a chance, do you? And
if you're good enough, you're old enough.
And they played him everywhere.
Really
He made his
smashing it.
debut at left back.
Yeah, and if Donnelly's really smashing it out like he is, maybe that level is a bit too easy for him. So why not get him put him on the bench? Especially with the injury.
George Abbott. Wasn't George Abbott?
He played against Chelsea, I think.
Last year. Yeah, he got minutes at the end of last season. But is he playing? Is he back in the team in the 21s now? Is he?
He scored against. I think he played against Chelsea in the under-21s.
Did he? Okay, fair enough. Because he was good. I thought he came through, and when he got minutes, I forget which game it was, tail end of last season. I thought he did well in that 20-minute spell. I thought he got forward.
Yeah.
Well, I think he had a chance, didn't he, as well? But, yeah.
Did he grab himself an assist or something, or am I completely misremembering?
He got a key pass. I think I'm not sure if he got a technical assist, but
maybe
he got a pressure or some other statistic that's been made up.
But back onto the topic, Sim. Are we finishing above Arsenal?
Yes.
Of course we are. Of course we are. Those Gunners have 1 year finishing above us in 7 years and think they're the dog's bollocks. It's amazing how good they think they are just because they finished above us once in 7 years. So I think, look, in all seriousness,
what? So you're not serious? You didn't? What?
I'm not serious.
What are you chatting about? You said was like gospel.
We're on the positive train, and you're just going to derail.
I am serious about the Gunners definitely over-egging where they are. And I think that they think they're in a stronger position than they are in. But at the end of the day, they have a stronger squad than us. That's the truth. So whether the reality is we also have less games. So it could balance itself out. When I look at the first 11 of both teams, when there are no injuries, I don't see a massive difference. Like, I think that we do have a few players that they get into their team, even if they don't think so. I think that we do. But the question is, our depth is so lacking. It's so lacking. One injury for Van der Ven or Romero, and or Udogie or Basuma or Madison, and we are screwed. We are screwed. Like, if Basuma gets injured, we're not going to be finding our way into the final third as easy as we have been. If Basuma gets injured, he's like
basically anybody outside of the wings, anywhere else on the team, we are screwed, and we've now run out of options.
If gets injured, I think Emerson can come in and do a job. But I think
Bentancur can do a job in the number 6.
And I think if Sarr gets injured, we can maybe deal with that. But I think Basuma, he just makes this team function because he literally gets the team from the defensive third into attacking third, like with such ease and regularity. It's a joke. And he's like a cheat code in that.
I mean, he should be back in the next month or so.
Someone said on Twitter earlier he's back for our. He will be featured in our November game, the second game in November, which is about 4 weeks.
I actually think if Lo Celso's fit, I think we would miss Maddison, but not as much as people think. I think we could still score goals without Maddison if Lo Celso's fit. I do think that. But I don't think if Basuma's fit, Højbjerg could do the job Basuma does. I really don't. If Romero or Van de Ven get injured, we're screwed. If Ben Davies has to come in for Udogie, I cannot see Ben Davies doing anywhere near the job Udogie is currently doing. So we're screwed in that fact as well. Whereas Arsenal are currently got injuries. Timber got injured and Trossard and Martinelli got injured, but they got players who can fill in. They got Jesus filling in. They got Nketiah. They had Vieira. I'm not
they have got some similar problems.
They're not great players, but they're much better than the depth we have in these kind of positions right now.
I do feel like if Martinelli and Saka are out, which is a real possibility,
or Odegaard.
Ghostegaard, you mean? I haven't seen him play for a while.
Odegaard, I'm going to need a sat nav to find.
I hear you. But if one of our centre backs gets injured, we are so screwed. Like Dyer comes in, we are screwed. Like we're not winning a game. like that kind of. Maybe if we look, okay, maybe I'm over egging a bit. If we're playing,
we'll come in and boss it.
If we're playing a team like, for example, Luton, and maybe we're dominating the game and we're having a lot of possession, maybe we could get away with having a Dyer. But if we're playing like a Brighton or we're playing a Villa or we're playing any of these teams, that's just, Davis and Dyer just something that they will exploit, especially with the way we play the high line, very very aggressive. Like that is just ripe for exploiting. Right now with Van de Ven and Udogie, then Romero, it's really, as much as we're playing with high risk, it's still very hard to get any joy out of them. They're so quick, they're so aggressive, they're so strong, they're so physical that even when we lose the ball and teams have, like for example, that moment where Liverpool had a counter, Gakpo is through on goal, yet Van de Ven has that recovery pace to get back and actually outpace Gakpo. And any other defender in our squad apart from Van de Ven, that's probably a goal, and that's the difference. That's the fine line. You can be from a team, going 1-0 down and it functioning and it not. So if we get lucky with injuries and we have our first 11 fit and available for most of the season, I think we do have a decent chance of finishing above them. But that's just, I don't know. It's just you've got to go because
a lot of ifs and buts, isn't it?
Exactly. I hate talking about the narrative. But
yeah,
we do have a weaker squad. I think our first 11, if it stays fit, we can finish above Arsenal, and I genuinely believe that.
That was what I was saying, by the way, to everyone in the chat. If we can get to January and add a couple of players,
get to January above them, and we can maybe sign a couple of signings. There's no I think Arsenal I think we're already starting to see it, but once we even get into it in December, the Champions League games are coming thick and fast, and they're really you having to use their squad a bit more with midweek, and then the Premier League, and they're having to use their first team every week. Like you're already seeing they're starting to struggle a bit. Rice is pulling up, Saka's pulling up, they're starting to struggle. So I think once that in a few weeks' time, we might even see a worse situation for them. But I don't know.
Good luck had to come to an end at some point. It had to. And now I think
that's what drives me up the wall about Arsenal fans who think that last season was their new normal.
No,
I think you have to do 2-3 seasons at a certain level for it to become your new normal. Otherwise, it's just overperformance, smashing through ceilings. And then usually 7-8 times out of 10, teams that outperform once, gravity brings them back down to earth with a bump the second season. We're seeing it a little bit with Newcastle right now. And I think we might be seeing it with Arsenal as well. I think it's too early to tell either way, but Arsenal fans think that their team is better than it is. And, I think maybe a lot of other rival fans might say the same thing about Tottenham fans, thinking that our team's better than it is. But for me, whether or not we finish above or below Arsenal will be entirely dependent on luck in terms of injuries.
Can I say something very quickly?
Good. If not, if we get injured, then we won't be. We'll be 5th or 6th, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I spot on, mate. If we beat Luton and Arsenal and City draw, after 8 games, we sit top of the league.
Having a laugh.
So winning it all.
Just no, all jokes aside, only 8 games.
Henry, we were top of the league after more games played under.
I know. This is what I'm saying. All jokes aside, but if I said to you back in August when we didn't sign a centre back for 7-8 weeks, and we're all shamelessly doing videos about a player that no one's ever heard of, right? If I said to you then, 8 games in, we're going to be top of the league, beating Liverpool, beating United, going to the Emirates and getting a point, you'd bite my hand off.
Oh,
you'd be like, you're absolutely smoking.
Think for yourself when you say shamelessly doing videos that we've never heard of.
I've at least
Googled them before I've done the video.
I've Googled them as well. Everyone's got the same information.
Let's rephrase it for sure. Never heard of it 10 minutes before doing the video.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
All right,
Yeah.
big up to all of you. One more members chat here from Azad Hamid saying, with Porro being the best right back in the league, should we now be looking to sell Emerson and get a better right back backup? What do you think, Shawnee?
I think it's the position that's the least of my concern at the moment, if I'm honest. It was an area that I thought was, going into the season, I think like most people, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys felt the same, but I was really concerned about Porro. I think a lot of people were sort of shoehorning him into I think everyone was sort of consensus saying he's not a right back, he can't defend. And I think a lot of people were then saying because he's not there, he must obviously be a right winger. I'll be honest, I got it completely wrong. I was saying I don't know where he fits into this system, but I'm so glad how brilliant he's been. He's proven me entirely wrong. I think he's spectacular, and I think that Emerson is an adequate, appropriate backup. In an ideal world, yeah, you'd like to be able to to get better players in all of the kind of the B team, if you like. But I think that particular area of the pitch isn't somewhere that's a focus for me, not in January, nor probably in the summer. I think we need more depth in the centre-back spot. We probably need another left-back at some point if Ben Davies isn't going to be the kind of final solution. And I think we also need to have conversations around what we're going to do in the midfield, with Højbjerg wanting out. He doesn't fit the system anyway. We're going to need someone who can either play the backup to Basuma in the 6, or if Bentancur is going to do that, then another 8, whatever. And then, of course, obviously, we need a 9. So there's 4 or 5 different positions that need to be filled before we start worrying about Emerson Royale, I think.
Maybe we should revert to Brains's wet dream and get rid of Højbjerg, bring in Hatate, bring in Jota for the left wing, and bring in Kyogo for the number 9 role. What do you reckon?
Is he just letting his Scottish side of him kind of speak volumes here? He's just like Celtic.
He's like, we got to get these 3 done. We're going to win the league if we get it done.
They're all great players. They are all great players. Like, I'm a big fan of Hatate from what I've seen of him. And Kyogo seems to just bang him in for fun, doesn't he? You know what's interesting? And then, like, obviously, people were talking about should we get Kyogo, should we get Gift Orban as the number 9? And that was the kind of the kind of conversation for a lot of the last part of the window. Gift Orban doesn't seem to have kept up quite to the same level.
He's
his scoring
fallen off a cliff since the end of the transfer window. He really has.
Yeah. He's not.
I don't think he's scored a league goal since the transfer window shut.
You still want him?
Bring him.
Yeah, I still really like him. For me, though, my attention's turned to Santiago Jimenez at final. I think that guy is the real deal. I really, really like him. I think he's a different type of player to Gift Orban or Kyogo, but
his numbers.
But also, Kyogo's scoring goals still this season for Celtic again, isn't he? So look, there's options out there. Just whether or not Daniel Levy wants to pay the going rate and what that number is.
Sean, where do you think the balance, like in this kind of situation, we're talking about bringing a striker in, when we're all waxing lyrical about like a Donnelly or, even a Scarlett or whatever in the youth team, like where is the balance between finding a pathway for them and having to sign a young striker who's going to play right now? Where do you think that balance is? Because you could argue if we sign a striker now, is that not blocking Donnelly's pathway or something?
And Veliz, right, as well.
Veliz as well.
Yeah, it's a good argument, mate. I mean, I haven't really spoken about it in the centre forward role, but I've certainly made the point before that in terms of getting a centre back in January, I think we don't necessarily need to follow the same script of going youth centric, again in January, because you do have 3 centre backs coming through over the next 18 months to 24 months in Vescovic, Phillips, and maybe Dorrington, right? And so if you do want to have access for these players to come through when you've already got a 23-year-old in Van der Ven and a just turned 25, I think, in Romero, then to go and get another 22-year-old who's 30 million quid or whatever at the centre-back role to give back up now, to me seems like if you sign them on 3 or 4 or longer term contracts, then you're blocking off the pathway, and that bottleneck for me is a problem. What is the point of going to a youth-centric model unless you're going to offer some access? So in terms of the centre-back role, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think that there's options to go and get someone who's a little bit more senior who knows the role he's going to play. He's going to come in and hopefully do a job when asked, but ultimately he's going to be rotation/backup. And I know people are probably going to lose their mind at me, but I was looking at people like Chris Smalling and thinking, I think his contract's coming to an end soon. And I think he could come in and just do a job mentoring some of these players at 32. I think he's 32 years old.
Or someone like De Vrij.
Someone like De Vrij, yeah. Someone that's maybe 30 years old that can come in, play a little bit of a bit part, be there, but not necessarily demand or command first team minutes ahead of Romero and Van de Ven, but fill the gap in the short term, whilst Dorrington and Phillips and Vescovic and that are doing and I guess you can make the same argument at the top end of the pitch as well.
Just make sure his name isn't Eric Dyer. Basically, that's what you're
or
saying.
Harry
It
kind of fits
that much
what
better than Eric Dyer.
Kind of fits your profile, surely, Eric Dyer. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, no, I'm not saying Chris Smalley specifically, but just I'm saying someone like him who's been there and done it, who could come in, who isn't, you know what I mean, who's coming to the end of the
Describe this player without describing Dyer, Sean. Just do it, please.
I don't want Eric Dyer. I don't want Eric Dyer.
Dyer's been to a Champions League final.
You're describing.
That was Harry
Dyer.
Winks, but I don't want him back, mate.
Give me some characteristics that can't be attributed to Dyer.
Talented. I don't know. Talented. Someone who's calm under pressure. Someone who knows how to get himself out of a pickle.
Okay, there we go.
Eric Dyer did well getting his family out of a pickle in the stands, so fits your profile perfectly.
So you okay? Well, let me ask the counter then. If you guys think that my idea is so terrible, are you okay? So we need someone in centre back. We need someone in centre back in January. Do you go and get someone?
I get Tosin. I go get Tosin
or Lloyd Kelly, one of those types.
Yeah, that's who I go. I don't think these kind of players block off the pathway to these youth players coming through. And realistically, we don't know how long it's going to take for these players to properly come through. They're 18 years of age. One of them 16 years of age. So it's a difficult situation. You can't just wait for them, bring in a Smalling or bring in Harry Maguire or these kind of players to wait for 18 and 16-year-olds to break through. I still think we need to go for like the Tosins of this world, like maybe not top money centre backs, but players that can come in and do a job straight away.
What about Cameron Carter-Vickers?
I wouldn't be completely against that. I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
Plays well for Celtic.
Well, yeah, my point was more around I don't necessarily think that we should be going dropping big money anymore.
Yeah.
Like if Edmund Tapsoba links emerge again, I'd rather, as much as when I hear myself say it out loud, I'd love to see Tapsoba, but I don't know if, what's the benefit of spending that money in that particular position? I feel like there is a medium term.
Don't they? Teams still buy quality and then slowly. Yeah, like Man City always go for like top quality players and then slowly, like when they had the likes of Kyle Walker and they were moving other players out right back while they were at the same time bringing through Rico Lewis. Like you're not, if we got by like a 30-year-old or a 32-year-old who's good, we're almost kind of putting so much pressure on this player to come in, and if he doesn't do well, we've shot ourselves in the foot. Whereas at least if we have someone who's firing all cylinders, and that young product slowly gets nurtured in, like what we've done with Richarlison to a degree. Like he had a lot of hate on him. He took him out of the firing line and then slowly pushed him back in, and now he started to contribute. Like, I'd be more leaning towards bringing someone in like Tapsoba, knowing that we've got quality and we can also add quality, rather than bring someone in who's on the decline slowly, but praying that young player comes in and does absolute wonders.
I just know that budgets are going to be tight again. When you look at those numbers that were put out in the fan forum, that Tottenham has spent circa 670 million, whatever it was, net over the last 6 years. It's 110 million a year, which if you work out that on average over those years, Tottenham's revenues were about 400 million on average. I know they're a bit higher now, but they were lower at certain points. 440 million. So that's about 25% of our revenues spent on average on transfer fees. Plus we're spending about 50% on our wage to ratio turnover. It gets you to about 75%. And in a year's time, the max you can spend on the aggregated amounts of your wages, salaries, and the agent fees is 80%. And then a year after that, it's 70%. So we're not, unless Tottenham find like suddenly a very much more generous owner where they're going to pump money in. Unfortunately, Tottenham are going to live by the kind of book and be sustainable. And so we're not going to be able to go and throw. We're never going to be a club, I don't think, that's going to go around throwing that sort of money at transfers. And so if that's the case, the idea now of going and spending 50 million quid on a Tapsoba, unless there's some intention to sell a Romero in 2 years' time for 80 million or something like that, move some of those players on, I think that it's better to find someone who can come in who's not going to be demanding a first-team place, who can level up on what we have at the moment, be better than Eric Dyer, be better than Ben Davies, that sort of thing, but also not necessarily be a stopgap or a bottleneck on the hopeful promotion of who we hope is going to be excellent in Ash Phillips and Dorrington within the next 18 months. That's just my logic on the argument. That money should be spent elsewhere.
With what you're saying, come January, Lloyd Kelly and both Tosin Adarabioyo both have 6 months left in their contract. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me to bring in one of them.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Bring in them both and get rid of Dyer.
I don't know if there's a need for both, to be honest. I think just one of them. Get rid of Dyer.
But next season, if we're in another competition, we're going to need more players. So I guess if we're going to be, hypothetically, if we weren't in Europe, I'd agree. But going into Europe, I think you need 4 or 5 centre-backs. Like Arsenal have got the likes of Gabriel, Timber, Saliba. They had Holding. Partey's playing there at times. You know, Zinchenko, they go to a back three, they change things. Man City have got like 4 or 5 centre-backs that play all different positions. Like Stones goes into midfield. I think if you're competing on more than, you know, just the Premier League and the Cups, like you're in Europe, I think you need another centre-back. Like Villa went out and bought the likes of Pau Torres, didn't they? When they had the likes of Konsa, Mings, etc., etc. Longley, you know, that old Rolls Royce that we had.
Don't say that name around here.
What about Harry Maguire?
Oh, don't start again.
No, absolutely not. Categorically, 1000% no.
If Sim had it his own way, you'd have Maguire in central midfield and Ndombele in the midfield. Who else?
And we'd be winning it all.
The championship, yeah.
It's a trophy's a trophy, isn't it?
That does bring an end to the panel. I want to say thank you everyone for tuning in today. More importantly, thank you very much to the panel. Henry, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, it's just at Henry Wright TV. I'm closing on 17k, so if anyone wants to subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Obviously, thanks for having me on again. I am live at 10 with Sean. If anyone wants to tune in, it will be probably more of a unfiltered version of the Klopp stuff, because I'm probably going to rip into him a little bit. But if anyone wants to tune in for that, check that out. And yeah, thanks for having me on as always.
Thank you for coming on, my friend. And Sean, Spurs Talk Show, what's going on this week?
I've got a ticket to Luton, so I'll be doing fan cams outside Luton. Probably get some bottles thrown at me from just outside the Oak End or whatever it's called. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, your Spurs Talk Show, I'll take my dog out for a walk and talk about whatever's in the shamelesstransfernews.com section, where if I haven't heard the player, I put out 30 seconds worth of research and then waffle for 10 minutes about why he might just be the next best thing for Tottenham Hotspur, including Chris Smalling. And I might even find space for Harry Maguire in tomorrow's episode just to make Sim happy.
Thank you guys for coming on. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in today. We'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.